Good afternoon, the ALTTPR League, and welcome to week 2 of ALTTPR Open League Season 4. We're into Fad Keys week. Today we are featuring a race between Zebes Frog Bar and But We're Still Buddies. For Frog Bar, we have Akuheish, and for But We're Still Buddies, we have Benteezy. After week 1, But We're Still Buddies took both of their games to get 6 points. So that matchup was against, sorry, I just want to make sure I get these teams correct. But We're Still Buddies played Guardians of the Galaxy Brain in week 1, whereas Zebes Frog Bar played the Validation Chest Boots during week 1. So Fad Keys though this week, so kind of a new slate. This mode is a little different from what you might remember from last season. Last season we did have all Dungeon Key Sanity. This year we've made it a little different. F80 keys is still an all Dungeon Key Sanity, but instead of shuffling the Agate Tower keys, they are vanilla. So those Agate Tower keys will both be in their normal chests. Makes it a little easier on that end. Doesn't mean the mode can still try to troll you with other, shall we say, Ice Rod hunts. So both of our runners starting off with Link's House, however, finding the blue mail and going towards that Uncle start, getting us a tier 1 tree pull pretty early. Didn't see any drops off of either of them, but our tier 1 pull is just 5 arrows. Not really going to help us yet. Pretty much the name of the game when we get to an F80 keys is almost, how do you clear efficiently and hundo efficiently in some regards. And guards are part of the bomb pack. So that's a nice drop for both of our runners so far, actually. And Akuheish is actually leaving immediately. It does look like Benteezy is going to try to get at least one more bomb drop from some of our courtyard guards. I don't think he's going to try to take this into Hyrule Castle, but definitely trying to get at least a bomb drop. And sorry, also a tier 2. Really like that play actually, to try and see if, what's our extra tiers. I missed if there was no, that was a tier 3 actually, because Benteezy took damage going in to the Uncle and didn't take damage after that. So nice tier 3 pull for those 20s. Meanwhile, Akuheish going towards the dam. But we are getting a sanctuary play, and there's our first of the 6 pod small keys. So obviously with this being key sanity, we don't know the crystal pendant layout. All the maps, the compasses, the small keys, and the big keys are all shuffled. So you're gonna definitely do some work to try to get that information. Although Akuheish does skip that map as our sunken treasure. So Benteezy now heading into our Lost Woods. See if we can get anything. 2 bombs is a really nice start though, and getting close to enough money to not only buy Bottle Vendor, but also buy bombs. So should have plenty to get through that start. And here's another small key for us. We have a small key to Ice Palace. So one of the things our runners are definitely going to try to keep in mind is how this all kind of shakes out logically. This doesn't mean that you necessarily will fully pay attention to logic throughout as we get a 300 in our drop down. But you just try to keep that in the back of your head throughout this kind of mode. There's definitely times where something very logically important, so like you could say a flute or a lamp, is locked by 6 pod smalls, and it's something you want to at least keep in mind going forward, even if it doesn't change your overall route. So, but Benteezy getting a 3rd bomb off of Green Guard, so plenty for all of our Kakariko checks. We'll be able to buy bombs as well afterwards to hit race game. And that's one of those interesting little things you have here with this kind of mode is a lot of people, like if it's regular old open, they'll say scout the race game. In this case, most people will instead say you just blind pull race game, as we do get our first bottle. And we also got the big key to Ice Palace. And we also have a big key to Pod. That's a nice early find. And that bottle does have a blue potion, so nice to have a free potion at this point. So let's see what we get now out of the Kakariko well. A second bottle, this time empty, but always nice to have them, depending on how much we find other things. Generally speaking, we will be pretty well equipped by the end of this. Don't be surprised if we get gold sword, red mail, silver arrows, and even a mirror shield along the way. But nothing really out of Kakariko well. Bottle's not really going to help us too much. I think the runners appreciate the find, but it's empty and not... Oh, hey! Kakariko loaded, at least in terms of your ability to check out the, the stuff you almost always want to come back for. We got a flute and a bottle, both in Kakariko, so all those checks besides Magic Bat are going to get knocked out really early here. But here we go with our Chicken Hut play now. But yeah, at this point, you're going to see a lot of standard play. Clear out Kakariko as we find our lamp. So that's interesting from mountain access. Hoping definitely to see maybe a hook shot or a mirror soon before really making a concrete play up to there, though. And we did see a chicken get clipped into a wall. The poor chickens. Sick Kid also not giving us anything too special this moment. Just 10 arrows. And again, it's Tower Small Key. We want at least one of those, of course, before we get in, but we're definitely hoping to be in go mode by the time we open up Ganon's Tower in this kind of mode. Having to make determinations of how much of GT you clear or, how far into that basement you want to wander is not always easy. We do check the library for nothing today, just a compass. Compasses don't serve a lot of purpose in this mode. The best thing they really do is tell you how many items you've actually found in a dungeon out of how many there are. And Benteezy actually was going to just scout the race game, saw money, and decided, you know what? Or never mind, does still decide to leave it. Yeah, only $50 doesn't change too much. Would have given Benteezy the money for Zora, but also that's a fake flipper and, not always the most tempting maneuver yet. Meanwhile, Akuheish is heading towards Sahashwala. We might see an early Eastern play here. There's a lot of reason to make this kind of play. Eastern is one of those dungeons you almost assume you're going to have to double dip. There's a lot of runners who will tell you, no, you want to hold off on Eastern Palace as long as possible. Very similar to a cross keys argument. But a lot of people will also say, no, you just go and know you're going to have to probably do this a second time later in the seed. So here we go with Sahashwala. And we find out our green pendant information is Desert Palace today. So yes, with this being AD keys or FAD keys in particular, they will have to beat all of our crystals, all of our pendants, Aga 1 and Aga 2 before fighting Ganon. Of course, with that condition, they are able to know that those Aga Tower keys in Aga Tower is a good sign. We do get the hammer out of Sahashwala's closet. Does give us some mobility, some fighting, but nothing too important yet. And here's that mountain play from Benteezy with that lamp, at least checking the old man. So yes, this is a slight adjustment from Season 3. Season 3, we had just plain old 80 key sanity. This season, they made that adjustment to FAD keys. I know a lot of people say, oh, the Castle Tower hunts of normal 80 keys was kind of their least favorite part of the mode. In some ways, you've almost just replaced it with different kinds of key hunts or ice rod hunts, as some people describe them. But just some money in on the old man, as well as nothing much in that first chest of Eastern Palace. Having the lamp does make Eastern Palace at least 4 items in logic at this point, so not a bad decision here. We are going to get to see the top of and inside of Spectacle Rock over on Benteezy's side. And we have a big key on top of Spectacle Rock. In general, there's only a few big keys you're really not looking for, and that's another key inside of Spectacle Rock. Yeah, Benteezy's going to go get that for sure. And thank you to the raid from Vortex of Doom. This is a week 2 race in the Open League between Akuheish and Benteezy. The mode is FAD Key Sanity. And nice little bomb jump there from Benteezy to save the save and quit. So we're just going to flute away. I don't know where yet. Only 1 bomb and no hammer. So maybe we're going to see. Yep. Looks like Benteezy is also going to head for Eastern at this point. We did get the Quake Medallion out of Eastern Palace. So we are starting to get some nice medallions early. And yeah, that was a really interesting bomb setup for that jump. Definitely one I have not seen used very frequently. Yeah, and this is the last bomb for Benteezy. Also decides to get that green pendant info. Oh, and I neglected to mention we did get a shield out of out of the closet. And our vanilla big key chest is a small key to Turtle Rock, the first one we have. And Benteezy actually not going into Eastern, possibly taking that kind of idea that, you know, I don't have a bow, I don't have a big key, I don't want to dip it yet. And given the information that we got from akuheish, it's not a huge deal to skip it for now. Don't underestimate the power of a shield. You never know how things can turn out. That shield could save your life. So akuheish heading towards the front of Escape, while Benteezy is going to go towards Mini Moldorm Cave. Having hammer and bombs now definitely feels a bit more comfortable with it. But still going to go with bomb strats. Hammer is just really... I don't want to say it's impossible, but it is really inconvenient at times to work through that. Nice 3 bombs, though, to get through that Mini Moldorm Cave. And we get a Pearl. And the glove. Wow, that is Dark World access for Benteezy. As well as a small key to Skull Woods. Now, while most runners, you know, you don't need small keys to Skull Woods to finish a seed, I at least will say that I prefer to find 1 in my journey. Because 1 small key to Skull Woods means you don't have to worry about like dropping into the left side of the front of Skull Woods, and you can just kind of work through that portion. So that's a nice little find, as akuheish does get a sword. And given what we know about the... Here's the thing. So key logic in Hyrule Castle is probably one of most runners' least favorite things to worry about ever. But that does mean, you know, we could... So that sword is out of logic, but still nice to be able to reach. Here we go with Hype Cave, though. We get a map to Palace of Darkness, and akuheish finds the small key to Swamp Palace. Really great find. Another small key to GT, and just a bunch of 20s. So not a huge improvement there, but akuheish really getting some good payout from our Hyrule Castle play. And yeah, that Swamp Small is super important in this mode. If you're unaware, there is only 1 of them, and you need it to clear the dungeon. And akuheish playing it a little bit safe here, trying to reach Mini Moldorm Cave. Only had one bomb that they had received in Hyrule Castle, so, you know, really didn't want to lose that one. And yeah, as it's pointing out in chat, you know, we saw akuheish skip the early play into Dark Cross there. Not sure when we're going to go back. You know, that could be right before doing Aga Tower. And just 2 digs, and we get a heart container off of the dig game. Benteezy is going to try to grind out some money. Unfortunately, the game is just not dropping any red rupees right now. There we go. A little bit of money finally. And is going to pick up that heart container. You know, still on 3 hearts with Dark World access is a little bit scary. And Benteezy is going to give us that look at the back of Escape. You know, a lot of people in chat saying, hey, back of Escape here. Yeah, here it comes from Benteezy. So we're going to get to see some 3 quick checks here. We will see if Benteezy does decide to check. Oh, there's another sword, a boomerang, and a mushroom. Wow, we've got nice little finds here. So that sword is in logic. While akuheish's sword out of the boomerang chest of Escape is not in logic, Benteezy did find one that is. Although Benteezy is heading towards the front of Escape now. I imagine we're going to get to see Dark Cross. This is a very deliberate play into Escape, so I have to imagine we're getting both checks. Or both sets of checks. We are seeing, of course, Skull Woods over on akuheish's side, setting up for the Death Warp. And hey, that looks like a Fire Rod. Yeah, that was a Fire Rod. So we have the weapons for early Moth. akuheish taking the intentional Death Warp right here. I don't blame them on that one. It is, you know, 3 hearts, still pretty scary to get through. Benteezy working through the front of Escape is appearing to set up for that Death Warp. You know, just taking a little bit of intentional damage everywhere. There's the Master Sword for Benteezy. Having that red meringue also is a little nice touch. Unfortunately, missing the bomb with that red boom, though. And akuheish is setting up to get that full magic out of this bomb wall here. Nice little piece of knowledge to know where that is. This could be akuheish setting up to want to go after Mothula. So there's that small key to Swamp Palace for Benteezy. Heading back to the Green Guard, gonna Death Warp for sure. So Benteezy or akuheish is at least heading towards the back. I'm curious if we're gonna see a 3-heart blue mail moth attempt here. So we're at least getting the under the bridge check, which I think is a good play for sure. You know, this is in logic already. Moth in this mode is locked behind 3 small keys to Skull Woods. Not that that stops most runners, but I think the 3-heart blue mail might be the little dangerous part here. And it's just 20 bucks. akuheish taking the death. Obviously the warp here. Now, what are we going to do with that? As we get Dark Cross, and it's just 10 arrows. So at this point, akuheish didn't really miss anything there. And yeah, akuheish is heading towards the back, heading towards Mothula. And yeah, as is being pointed out in chat, this is a 3 heart requirement. If you're curious, if you haven't played a lot of keys modes, the best way to describe how key sanity works is from a logic perspective is imagine if you're playing the mode and you just use the keys in the worst imaginable way. Okay. So like, those key doors that you never see a runner open in this mode, just imagine that you opened all the worst doors. Oh man, that was a hold breath moment. Unfortunately, Akuheish probably just down to a couple of hits there, and the moth got him at the end. That really stinks. Great effort, as Benteezy does find a second Skullwood small key. I think that was. So logically, we are getting close to moth. Benteezy finding the TR big key in the brewery. Yeah, that's a really rough death to take. Had really kind of been playing dodge the spike very nicely up to that point. And it looks like Benteezy is about to head into Thieves Town. And is in Thieves Town. So just bombs in that first chest. Akuheish is heading towards Village of Outcasts as well now. Looks like it was just $300 in that second chest in Thieves Town. I think there's a good chance that we see Benteezy work from Thieves Town up into Village or into the Skull Woods area. Yeah, and I see some chat about, the fact that akuheish had that blue potion, and when you use it, I agree that there's definitely some good logic to saying wait to use it until you are down to 1 heart, especially on blue mail. But, we do get that bow out of our C-shape house. So that's a nice find. And unfortunately, it missed the last check of Thieves Town there. So Benteezy into C-shape house, gonna get that bow. Definitely a nice find. The fact that we've got 1 pod small and we definitely have logical pod access does give us some options. 1 small and the big. If you're willing to make some trips down the right side, you can get quite a bit extra done in the dungeon. So at this point, we'd have to see go through, go to shooter room, go through the right side, jump down, maybe go to the bridge, drop down, go across again, and then get to the back portion. But could get a large majority of the checks, even though a lot of that is 4 key or 6 key locked. But yeah, 3 hearts and 4 hearts so far at 23-ish minutes. Not exactly the most comforting for our runners. Oh, we got the book at the end there in Thieves Town. So that is the desert ledge, but not much else yet. Or front of desert, but even that's not a lot because really only 1 chest available right now. Benteezy getting that GT big key now. And so I think Akuheish's route at this point is going to be, finish up these checks, work over to Hype Cave, and then I imagine probably go into either at least a Pyramid and Catfish check or all the way over to Pod. We'll see which one he decides to go with. So Benteezy's going to have a little bit of an equipment advantage here on this Mothula fight. Master Sword and a 4th heart. It doesn't sound like much, but Master Sword alone is a big deal, and that 4th heart is going to feel really good, as well as the fact that both of our runners are now on 5 hearts as they get those pieces to get that next container pretty much simultaneously. Yeah, Benteezy does have 2 keys right now for Skullwood, so just only missing 1 key to put Moth in Logic. I think it's, we're getting to that point where you're kind of like, I probably need to make this kill. But that Master Sword really is going to make a nice difference. One of the things a lot of runners will tell you is to kind of be aggressive with the Moth, because what you want to do is only limit yourself to have to worrying about spikes. And Benteezy's going to be able to, well, not without beams at least, but try to be a little aggressive in this fight, and it can really work to your advantage. And here we go, Benteezy with a 5-heart Moth, or 4 hearts at this point. Yeah, and you're kind of seeing it here, wanting to try to time those shots just to avoid the ability for Moth to fire. Waiting a little bit here and going now to hammer strats. But very nicely done from Benteezy, taking down the Moth. And we get just a heart piece and our first crystal of the match. So Skullwoods was a crystal. We're not sure which type yet. We did not see either of our runners talk to the big bomb vendor. Even though we don't have crystal pendant information, you can still talk to Sahashwala for green pendant and bomb vendor for the red crystals. So yeah, definitely a combination of factors there from Benteezy, having a Master Sword and being a bit more aggressive early in the fight definitely worked to his advantage here. So we're going to get that under the bridge check for Benteezy, as akuheish did check the Pyramid Ledge, nothing in particular, but is going to make a play over to the Catfish now. Benteezy pulling out that flute. I wonder where we're going to be going now. Possibly Pod and Eastern, but we'll see. No, we are getting a flute to 8. Okay, so we're going to get to check out Ice Rod Cave, and this might turn into a fake flipper to Zora as well. With the Pearl, with the bow, Zora Waterfall as well as the Zora Ledge are within the tricks that I would expect some of our runners to know at this point. So definitely a good chance that we'll see some fake flippering and splash deletion, as Quakefish is just 20 bucks. And yep, going right back to 8. So we are setting up for that fake flipper now. Nicely done. So let's see what we can find here. akuheish is going to the back of Escape right now. So going to skip Old Man for now. We are going to get this waterfall check. With the Pearl, all you have to do is go in and then go out and then go in on water. And we find a small key to pod and some bombs. Those small keys to pod, and having that second one really does make life a little bit better. So we might see, opening the front door, or oh, wow. Those are our Titan's mitts on the Zora ledge. And, definitely a great time to have a splash solution in your back pocket. That'll save a lot of time and headaches in trying to get that. Small key off for the mushroom turn-in, just for Turtle Rock. There are 4 of them available. Um, but very nice splash deletion there from Benteezy. Also recalling, in the water walk state, so deciding to skip Zora for the moment just to get those mitts. I like the play. We'll see if I'm gonna guess we're gonna get a second splash deletion. Yep. So gonna get another splash delete here. Or not. So skipped Zora, but did get those Titans mitts. And gonna take them immediately to check the mire area. Meanwhile, akuheish heading up the mountain. We've seen these checks from Benteezy's side, so unfortunately no new information. But we are getting the mire shed now. And 20 bucks and some bombs. So nothing really important out of the shed yet. We did get a look at the mire medallion though, and it is Quake for this one. And Benteezy going back for another fake flipper. I'm wondering, is this old man or is this Zora? Yeah, it looks like this is going to be a play over to the Zora check now. Benteezy trying to observe logic at least a little bit here. Definitely something you want to keep in mind is, what does the logic look like a little bit, and can I get around it in some places and not others? So in this case, Benteezy saying, I do know that Zora is available. Let's try to see if we can get anything off of it. The mitts are nice, but I don't want to go too outside knowing that is flippers locked. And honestly, the mitts don't open up a ton yet. It's a convenience factor almost at this point. And yeah, we are getting that front of desert play from akuheish. We'll see if we get anything out of this. Hey, guess what? That's logical mitts. So those mitts are in logic, just not very directly. And I'm sure Benteezy's going to have a good laugh here as well to join all the rest of you laughing in chat. That's a great find. So we are going to get a little bit of new information here from akuheish with the hobo, and it's just a piece of heart. We did see that desert torch. Nothing important right now. Benteezy considering what to do next. The mitts really don't open up too much. We could see an early play into Ice Palace, actually. Interestingly enough. And it looks like Benteezy's heading for the hobo. I still wonder if we might see early ice. Because you look at those keys, that's all the keys for Ice Palace. So at this point, ice is fully in logic. You just got to be willing to kind of get ready for a tough dungeon. We got Fire Rod, we got Hammer, we got Glove, we got Mitts. You got everything. Just Cold Stare hits like a truck. Oh. True, as Amerith is pointing out, Ice Palace does require that hook shot. Logically requires that hook shot. But I think, yeah, Benteezy's still going to make this play into ice. I don't disagree with the play at this point. It's just too tempting to kind of neglect these 8 items that are available to reach. We'll see what akuheish does with those mids. I imagine we're going to get a Mire Shed check as well. Mire Shed is just easily one of those areas you check really quick, find out my Mire medallion situation. After that, I'm not sure. Because once again, Mitts did not open up a ton. I mean, Ice Palace seems to be the best thing that we got out of this play. Or the best location that's now open to us. And there's our Thieves Town small key, so that's a really good find. By the time we get that Thieves Town big key, we know we'll be able to get a full clear. I did see a quick map check there from akuheish. Pod is a pendant. And yeah, the other thing Benteezy does have is Benteezy does have that blue potion still from earlier in the race. Did not use it, so on the moth fight. So that's still there to kind of help out a bit. But one of the ways we don't really get to see Ice Palace done much anymore, Benteezy going the Ice Palace bomb jump route. Oh, unfortunately taking that death. Just not hitting that setup, unfortunately. So we'll see what Benteezy decides to do this time. They're just going to head right back in. And I don't blame him at all for this. We're going to get to see new information as well from akuheish heading towards the Palace of Darkness. Yeah, and I like this play from akuheish, similar to how I would feel about this play from Benteezy. I think both plays are very valid at this point. With 2 pod smalls, that doesn't change anything logically, but you can definitely check a lot of this dungeon. And similar for Benteezy, logically, both of these dungeons are not clearable, but you can definitely get a lot out of both of them. So it's more of a comfort level. I think, 5 Heart Ice Palace is very difficult, and this could be just a play from, akuheish saying, this is definitely where I feel most ready to go, and Benteezy saying, I've got all the keys, and I don't mind that I'm missing hookshot for this dungeon. We do get a piece of heart, though, in that shooter room. Doesn't really change anything yet, as akuheish is going for the right side. I wonder if this is going to be to conserve a key at this point. How many times is akuheish willing to go through right side pod? Benteezy getting the bomb jump, though, in Ice Palace this second time around, so hopefully, gets through the rest of this. And we'll see what we find out of this. We still have a few checks in logic, honestly. Gonna eat that Pen Gator damage. And yep, here we go. So Benteezy taking that that first spot to the right, and this is kind of to evade the hook shot, the bomb jump on the right side in that jelly room, or the berry room, as it were. Still has to be really careful, only on 2 hearts at this point. And so far, nothing really all that interesting out of House of Darkness. We'll see what we still have. Technically, all the checks that were in Logic, we're still just missing 2 of those. We have the bridge and the drop down here, as we get a fire shield out of the U room. Bridge giving us the big key to Eastern Palace. That is in Logic, so that means we can actually completely take down the Armos Knights. Hey, and for everybody who's a little worried about health situation, nice find of an additional blue potion. And just some bombs. So we still have iced tea and cold stare left here. And yep, we're going to see that play up to there. We get another small key to Turtle Rock in the Dark U, as well as another heart piece. There's 6 hearts now for akuheish, which I know is not a lot, but it's definitely a nice feeling. So here we go, coming up on Ice Tea Room, and Benteezy does have the keys to, make some extra checks, possibly, or not extra checks, but actually hit the safety room. Now, interesting play here from akuheish, going after Helmasaur King already. Meanwhile, Benteezy making his way over to Cold Stare. Yeah, I'm definitely surprised by the play so quickly in for Helmasaur. Had 2 keys. I like the play to get the back checks. Get what you can out of the back of Palace of Darkness. I do wonder if we're going to get to see possibly the Dark Maze. But I do like this play to, this is a very aggressive move to go after a pendant just from pot at this point. Yeah, definitely one of the big items to know in this mode is the Palace of Darkness bomb jump, the hammer jump, as it were, is just a huge benefit. Really can save you a ton of time, a ton of frustration in some of the logic. And after some nice hammer hits from Benteezy, went to town with that fire rod, as well as akuheish taking down Helmasaur. So that's a dungeon clear from both of our runners. That's a crystal for Benteezy, and no real prizes on either side. It seems like our biggest gain out of this was the Eastern Palace big key on akuheish's side. That is in Logic. And yeah, akuheish leaving after skipping the dark maze of Palace of Darkness. I don't know if akuheish's familiarity with the hammer jump, so tough to say, but is leaving that behind for now. Meanwhile, Benteezy is making a play into Eastern Palace. Unfortunately, we know that the Eastern Palace big key is just so close with that pod play. But without Mirror, I don't blame Benteezy for this move at all. This is kind of just what you have to do. Oh, yes, a Thieves Town small key. That is about the biggest thing we did find, unfortunately. And yeah, everybody does love having that Thieves Town small key before the big, while also in possession of a hammer. Um, Thieves Town Big Chest is a terrible last location. It will sting every runner at least once in their time with rando and key sanity modes. So Benteezy going through Eastern Palace first time, going to get those 4 checks that were available at this point, whereas akuheish is going to give us first look at the big chest as well as Armos Knights. I feel like progression is going to be here. I don't know if we have a lot left. We do, of course, have the Smith Chain. And, you know, I think both of our runners kind of feeling, I don't want to have to do Smith Chain yet with only the myths. I'd like to have a mirror. So we'll see what happens there. But I think at this point, you know, we've really seen everything else. Unless I'm really just kind of drawing a blank. Yeah, I feel like at this point, we're about to see either a mirror or a hook. One of those 2 items is about to make a quick appearance. Yeah, so the way that the Smith Chain and the purple chest work in Rando is you can actually save and quit with either of them in your possession. You'll be moved into the light world. That was a change made to the randomizer to make sure that those checks were available without mirror. And here we go with that Armos fight. Let's see if we do get a next step in the logic here. Down goes Armos, and it's just for an Ice Rod. So I think we have, if I am completely on the ball here of plays, I think that means it's Smith Chain. Nice to find Ice Rod this early, not gonna lie. Benteezy, they're turning in that mushroom, gonna also get that small key. Maybe a potion purchase. Yeah, and a Turtle Rock Small is definitely one you want to keep. Knowing you need at least 3 to finish a seed, you like to find it. So yeah, right now the only thing we haven't seen is Smith, Purple Chest, or Hammer Pegs. So definitely one of those really does have our next step. But Benteezy, I think it was heading for pod, might have just misclicked to 6. Yep, this looks like a pod play. We might get to see a few extra checks here from Benteezy, depending on how he decides to use his keys. akuheish, on the other hand, heading into the Villa Pass area. I'm not sure if this is going to be Smith Chain or Moth. Could feel like this is the time to go back after Moth, given now 6 hearts and Master Sword. And yeah, this does look to be the Moth. Really unfortunate Moth death early from akuheish. So definitely has, you know, wants to get that one out of the way. And I don't think we saw the basement either. So we missed some in-logic checks actually from akuheish of pod in that. Or I think that was the only one in logic we skipped, to be honest. Because I believe the route that we saw was right side, went to the back, might have gone through the Harmless Hellway, jumped back, did the bridge, and then went straight to Helma. So that might have been where the 2 keys were spent. No, sorry, we did not actually see the Harmless Hellway either, because the 2 keys were used to get to Helma and the back. So there's definitely at least an item in logic here. We'll see if Benteezy goes a little bit different route for the spending of keys on this one. Still gonna go, does shoot a room, and now heading right side, or Bowlock side as it were, as akuheish drops in on Moth again. Definitely gonna feel a little bit more comfortable with the extra equipment. And yep, akuheish takes down the Moth, down to 1 heart, but still gets through it. That's really good. For another piece of heart, Benteezy getting that small key to Ganon's tower. Trying for some nice timing there. Unfortunately, just misses it. Nothing really so far. I mean, it's really coming down to, did we miss something in the drop-down Stalfos room of Palace of Darkness? Or is this on a mirrorless Smith chain? And I think we're going to get that information, at least on the Smith chain from akuheish. So Benteezy getting that big key to Eastern. I'm sure that's not a happy moment to find. Just because, already made that Eastern play for nothing, really. Besides Quake Medallion, which is a good find. And that's a small key to Hyrule Castle, so that does mean our both of our both of our swords are now in logic, but yeah, not much else out of it. And Benteezy's going to take the extra time here to go for another trip through Bowlock side of Palace of Darkness, trying to save the key to get an extra check. I like the determination. It's a little tough sometimes just because of the amount of time you have to invest to go this direction extra trips. But sometimes just the saving of 1 key can make that much of a difference. So we are getting hammer pegs here from akuheish. Let's see if we can get anything helpful off of this one. And there's our mirror in hammer pegs. So the play was to get the mirror at least. We'll see where this goes at this point. Maybe we still get a Smith chain? Hard to say. And we are going to get Smith chain. And I think, this is a great play. Turn in Jeremiah, get the Smith in, grab the purple chest, and then head for, take that purple chest, check K45, and check Bombo's tablet. Even if you don't make a play into Swamp Palace, we have the Swamp Small and Flippers. Even if you don't make that play, it's still worth the time. But here we go. We are going to get that bomb jump now from Benteezy. So let's see if there was anything important that is locked behind those 6 pod smalls. We're still a long way from that logically, but I like the check. We get a small key to GT. And Benteezy is setting up for a Death Warp simultaneously here. And some bombs. So nothing really inside of that dark maze. just a map out of K45. And yeah, Benteezy really committing to this two key Palace of Darkness clear is only going to be skipping the Vanilla Big Key chest and the Harmless Hellway chest. So 3 trips through Bowlock side to make this work can really be a nice little piece in the fact that it allows you to, skip the keys required for some stuff, but it's still a longer time commitment to do this much. We are slowly beginning to build up health, 7 hearts and 6 hearts respectively for our runners. And here we go with that Bombos tablet check. And hey, all this talk of hookshot, guess what? There it is off of the Bombos tablet for Akuheish. I'm kind of surprised we're not seeing Swamp Palace, though. Instead, we are getting Death Mountain. Chat definitely on their game today, talking about, finding these particular items at certain points. And yeah, we are just seeming to find them at exactly the right moments. But here we go. First real full check of the mountain. Meanwhile, Benteezy going for that pendant off of Helmasaur. Yeah, I can't say that this is a bad play from akuheish. It's definitely a very dense move. It's just at the same time, you're right there with Swamp Palace for a clearable dungeon, logically clearable at that. I'm just kind of surprised it's not on the list. Maybe we are looking for the Swamp Big Key. Definitely not always the most common thing to wait for, but we'll have to wait and see. And hey, there's the big key to Thieves Town already. And that could be troublesome for akuheish. Depending on when he decides to make the play over to Ice Palace, will he have the small key that first trip in? So now we're going back down through Spiral Cave. And I have to imagine Benteezy's going to go clear out Eastern at this point. Yep. Eastern play coming up. The big find for Benteezy really just was that Eastern big key, and akuheish pretty much made the same play. We know that Benteezy's pretty much going to have to hit Hammer Pegs next, or Smith Chain in general. And really having the mirror here, akuheish probably going to go into the portal here, head up through Super Bunny, and get Super Bunny and Hookshot Cave before giving us at least a peek at the TR Medallion. We're still missing a little bit. We're missing a Cane of Samaria to beat Turtle Rock, but we do have 3 small keys already. So I don't think I'd be too shocked to find out we have a Cane of Samaria available somewhere nearby. Whether that's Swamp Palace, Thieves Town, or still here on Dark Death Mountain, or even Tower of Hera. This game has kind of just gone completely opened up, so but yeah, at this point, both of our runners up to 3 dungeons. Akuheish starting to get a bit more checks in as he finds the Tempered Sword. Benteezy's real only advantage in terms of clearing is, of course, having taken out Ice Palace already. In terms of, a lead at this point. I think it's still a little bit early to say. Both runners having unfortunate deaths in dungeons. Akuheish on the Moth and Benteezy trying to do the Ice Palace bomb jump. So still really anyone's game. Hookshot Cave, however, here from akuheish, and what do we got? Just a lot of hearts. So all that questions about where's our health, it is apparently on Death Mountain. So definitely a much better health situation, and really good to have Tempered Sword already. Well, and as chat pointed out with the whole, did Ice Palace have anything? The one thing we're sure of is the presence of that Thieves Town small key. And the question is, when does akuheish go to Ice Palace? And is it before the clear of Thieves Town? It's a really interesting question, to say the least. If something is in the Thieves Town big chest, this could change things a little bit, but too early to say. Our big key on the ledge is the Meyer big key, which means we are, of course, just a Cane of Samaria away from being able to beat Vitreous at this point. And Benteezy heading into our 4 Dark Portal. I'm not sure what for in particular, but there's our 4th Turtle Rock small key on the Ether Tablet. So we are just a Cane of Samaria away, and of course, a Bombos medallion for being able to clear Turtle Rock. So we're just items from TR access. Oh, we're getting a read on our 5-6 crystals. They are Thieves and Swamp. So what we do know is that with the information from Benteezy on the red crystals and where the items are from akuheish, we do know Pyramid Fairy is in logic. Actually, it's a combination of both. So nice little knowledge grouping for us there. And really, this could, we weren't sure about the play to skip Swamp Palace, but I kind of liking it more at this point, just based on an information standpoint from what we know. If akuheish does clear Thieves Town first and then does Swamp into Pyramid Fairy, could work out from a routing perspective. So we'll see what happens. And there's our Cane of Samaria out of the Hera basement. Wow. Okay, so that does give us just 1 item away from TR clearing. We are technically 1 small key away from being able to take down... actually, we have the small keys to take down Meyer, and here we go. akuheish into Ice Palace. I like the play at this point. It's a full clear for sure. Probably feeling pretty comfortable with the equipment now, having Tempered Sword. So that Cane of Samaria really does give, akuheish a little bit of an advantage at this point. This is going to be a much simpler clear than what Benteezy had to go through. So akuheish going through Ice Palace, setting up for that Icebreaker. There we go, nicely done. Benteezy about to get the mirror. And really for akuheish, this is great because we know that this will lead to the Thieves Town small key. So, I mean, this is also a full logical Ice Palace clear. Yes, and thank you to everybody explaining kind of what Fad Keys is. Best way to think about it is just as AD keys, just with a little bit of new flavor to it. Yeah, and I do see some talk about, mystery. This season, mystery was replaced, of course, with cross keys. Definitely one of the an interesting choice. A lot of people in this community, especially the runners, are big fans of the mode, so I'm not surprised it's kind of got a spot back this season. But tough to say. But Benteezy starting to clear out those mirror checks along the way to Bombo's tablet as akuheish is clearing out Ice Palace. So kind of retracing each other's steps right now. And just remember, this is only week 2 of the league season. The regular season for league is 7 weeks. So all this week from today until Sunday, we will be having Fad Keys. So definitely make sure to watch plenty of these. And then next week we'll be into casual boots. So plenty of racing left to go over the next few months as part of the league. This is, as I said earlier, our Thieves Town division. In week 1, But We're Still Buddies went 2-0, while Zebes Frog Bar did go 0-2. The whole division had that kind of feel to it last week. We had 4 teams being able to get the sweeps and 4 teams getting swept. So, we're going to start to see, it's still early, lots of league left to go. Meanwhile, akuheish working on Cold Stare as Benteezy also gets that hook shot and decides not to go into Swamp Palace. So apparently I would have made a very different call from these runners, but I can't disagree. This is definitely seeming to work out from both of their perspectives. I do see an interesting conversation about, Fad Keys being the Ice Rod Hunt -2 Ice Rods. I think an interesting point there is we've kind of seen that while it does reduce the hard number of, Ice Rods in that sense, we have also seen it kind of, we've definitely seen some changes where there are still other quote-unquote Ice Rods. Other keys could just be later to find. You could have a GT mode seed where you've got 7 crystals and just can't get into the last or to clear the last dungeon. There's still plenty we're missing to give us go mode, as it were. So we'll see how that works itself out. But akuheish heading into Misery Mire now. So akuheish is giving us the new information while Benteezy works to clear out the Death Mountain checks. So we'll be finding that Cane of Samaria, hopefully. Definitely a chance that Hera Basement could elude, but we'll see what happens. So interesting play here from akuheish. It looks like he's going to go straight for Vitreous at this point. You know, gets those 2 checks early and just heading directly to Vidi. Technically, all checks in this dungeon are in logic except for cutscene right now based on our small key situation. But at this point, we are tied up in the dungeon count. So really nice there. As akuheish is heading towards a 5th dungeon. You know, I think they'll really, if I had to say what's our time difference at this point, I think it really comes down to Benteezy taking a little bit of extra time to make those extra checks in pod is really where we're at. I can't say one play or the other is necessarily the correct one, but both defendable, you know, for sure. Yeah, that's definitely something we've seen. Is I think there's some skill here or some experience that we're seeing from Benteezy. You know, we saw the bomb jump in pod. Definitely one of those skills that is really helpful in this mode. Whereas, you know, we didn't see that from akuheish. Maybe that was intentional to be able to just do right side of pod once. I'm not sure. And we might see this now in Tower of Hera with possible Hera pod. So let's see what we get. But that is a crystal out of Mire. And I did miss the item. Just going to check this real quick. I still didn't catch what that item was. Caught in the explosion. But akuheish going back into Misery Mire now. But on the plus side, Benteezy is checking out the Hera basement. As I've said, this is kind of the full clear the game kind of mode. So, it's our blue boomerang, I'm being told. So, not a huge find. I mean, if you like blue boomerangs, it's okay. But akuheish back into Misery Mire. So, we still got some checks to make. I imagine we're going to get the full clear. We get a small key to Skull Wood, so there's our 3rd skull small. And yep, Benteezy trying to set up for that Hera pot now. This looks to be the Philly pot variation of it. Definitely one of the easier ones. Nicely done. So we are going to get some new information at the top of Tower of Hera. But we are now facing off with everybody's favorite troll boss of the Moldorm. Luckily, we do have Tempered Sword, so it shouldn't be too bad. And there we go. Nicely done from Benteezy. And now we're getting left side of Mire. And Moldorm does give us a big key, this time to Swamp Palace. So everybody who was talking about waiting for that swamp play, looks like it's going to work out at least somewhat for Benteezy, having now cleared out Moldorm. So that's definitely going to be a nice full clear for Benteezy when he goes to do Swamp. Yeah, I think the only thing you could want to make Swamp Palace better are boots, of course, but, you know, beggars can't be choosers on this one. Definitely a great time to go into that dungeon. I just had to verify, but yes, Benteezy does have red cane, so did not skip Hera Basement at least. That's a that's good news. So Benteezy is going to go for Swamp Palace first, and probably, or maybe not. I was wrong. Okay, so Thieves Town first into Swamp Palace. I like the idea here. Honestly, if you get boots on either, like, boots would help in either of these dungeons, but I'm thinking Benteezy's plan is to clear Thieves, clear Swamp into Pyramid Fairy at this point. And while not logically there yet, technically we are in GT mode. For those unclear on what that is, GT mode is when you can actually get into GT and items required to finish the seed might actually be there. At this point, we could be looking for a Desert Palace Big Key and a Bombos Medallion to finish the seed. So I think this is going to be a bit of an efficient play from Benteezy, you know, looking at it and saying, okay, I know I want to be able to, I want to be able to full clear what I can, you know, get the good checks out of the way, and is saying, I want to hit Pyramid Fairy, even though I know I'm in GT mode at this point. So I like the idea here for sure. Or maybe doesn't know it. I haven't seen all the map checks yet from Benteezy, so might still be missing some of that information. But does know at least 2 dungeons we can't clear yet. And yeah, we did see all the rest of that Dark Maze from Pod. Unfortunately, nothing really out of it. So I would say our time difference still at this point really is Benteezy taking the extra time to do some extra checks in Pod versus akuheish doing 1 trip through. So we actually saw Benteezy do 3 runs through Bowlock side of Palace of Darkness. Nice find of our gold sword here in the attic of Thieves. So yeah, no real Ice Rod hunt here with that Ice Rod off of the Armos Knights. But yeah, both of our runners really just looking for a Bombos Medallion and a Desert Palace Big Key. Once we get those 2, we are into go mode. Pending, of course, I don't know, you know, we've been talking a little bit about what each runner does feel comfortable with, or, you know, those different things. akuheish did not do a Harapot earlier. I don't know if that's, you know, just a lack of comfort without the boots for it, or doesn't know Harapot. So we'll see what happens. So just a map out of the Thieves Town big chest. So that Thieves big small key out of ice means that all of Ice Palace was garbage. And here we go with Benteezy on blind now. Always a scripted fight, so we'll see how well our runners are able to stick to it. And yeah, Benteezy appeared to get just a little bit off script, so instead of even having to work, just pulls out Burna. For the boots! Oh wow, great find. Definitely will make Swamp Palace a much better dungeon. And all checks in general just that much drastically improved at this point. Akuheish now on blind as well. Down to 4 hearts. Still has that Burna. Hopefully remembers it just in case. And does get blind down just in the nick of time. Whew. And Benteezy going for that library. And that was just a compass, so nothing neat this time. And Benteezy heading into Dark World, it looks like at this point. So we are going to get Swamp Palace immediately and right for probably Pyramid Fairy. So no real time advantage for the boots. The only real difference here is akuheish having not done Tower of Hera, and Benteezy not having done Mire. So luckily, in terms of advantage, akuheish has probably a little bit of an advantage just because Tower of Hera is a much quicker kill or finish. It just is a question of, does this Swamp Palace big key matter? And this, this is another situation that can really have long implications for the end of this one. But Benteezy into Swamp Palace now. With a small key to Pod. So for Benteezy, this really doesn't make a difference. That's not any extra checks. We know logically you would have needed 6 to beat Helmasaur, but at this point, doesn't change his desire to go back in there, most likely for only what is 2 items. akuheish probably also in a similar boat, having already beaten Helmasaur, but it does open up a few extra items. And yes, we had already seen Bumper Ledge, so it's not happening. And realistically, looking at the runner's current key situation, we have 4 small keys and the big key for Ganon's Tower on Benteezy's side. So I don't doubt that there's going to be something in there required for go mode. I think I would not be surprised if I see at least one of our runners skip left side in this situation. We're in that situation where GT is opened up pretty much for our runners, so it's just a question: are you willing to skip it and hope that maybe the only thing you're missing is, I don't know, a big key to Tower of Hera at least? Okay, so Swamp Big Key, not a problem here, and Benteezy is heading to left side. Nicely done on that diver down. And heading immediately for left side. And we also got the diver down from akuheish, so we are going to get to see both of our runners clear left side at this point. No skipping. Although Benteezy dropping in on the right side. Unless I missed. There's Bombos Medallion. Wow. Interesting. We're just a big key away from go mode. Okay. Interesting play. I have not seen a lot of runners do this, doing right drop down and to hook shot over to the left to check. I don't hate it, just not one I'm used to seeing. Meanwhile, akuheish getting the diver down to head over to left side. So left side required. I stand as the wrongest person possible today. Apparently, you could not skip left side swamp for that required Bombos medallion. We got another diver down as well as Benteezy heads towards the waterfall chest here. Just some bombs. And we're about to get Argus. And I have to imagine Benteezy is going to take this immediately to Pyramid Fairy. I think the one question becomes, where's our Desert Big Key? And how much are you willing to skip at this moment? But nicely done on that first part of Argus. And down he goes. Meanwhile, akuheish into the diver down room here in the back. And that was the big key to Tower of Hera. Okay, so what that means is we are technically in GT mode, even logically at this point. We were a little short earlier just because we lacked that big key, but that big key does put that as a logical play now. I think Ben got it. That was on top of Spectacle Rock. Did he actually miss that one? He did. Interesting. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that was on top of Spectacle Rock. But I did just check Benteezy's tracker, and it is not on his tracker either. Seeing some nice dash strats there with the bomb. As akuheish takes down Argus as well. And Pyramid Fairy just giving us arrows and money. So the only problem here for Benteezy did actually clear out Moldorm earlier using Herapot. So I don't know if going for that play is going to be as on the schedule, as it were. Could just be a forgot that there was something there. And I don't know when Benteezy makes the play back to it. And thank you to my tracker today, Oro, who also did screenshot the menu on Benteezy's side to see that, yep, he did not get that big key off of Spec Rocks. So I don't know when that becomes a high priority if he's forgotten it. Really unfortunate, there was a good time to hit it for sure. We get a small key, though, inside of Graveyard Ledge, and this time to Desert Palace. So that is 2 checks. But last of our boot checks, or at least at this point, we are going to get to see Bonk Rocks. And just 20 bucks. So the big piece there was finding that Desert Small. And it looks like Akuheish is going to play this as GT mode. Gonna do Hera first and then head to TR. So nice play here. We'll see how much we get to have cleared at this point. No, Benteezy did not do Spike Cave, so definitely a possibility that could help. Oh, I was wrong. Okay, Benteezy heading right up the mountain. Hopefully, that's unfortunate though. So Benteezy going directly for Turtle Rock. Unfortunately, not realizing, didn't go after Spec Rock. So hopefully we maybe get a Spec Rock and Spike Cave play after TR. Because honestly, after clearing out Turtle Rock, there's not a lot left for Benteezy. We've really had a good, efficient clear up to this point. And just a map in the Hera Big Chest for Thieves Town. What I will say on the question to Will's comment in chat, Benteezy did go up the mountain early in this race, did Old Man and checked Spec Rock, so I know he did scout the top. So this could just have been a moment of forgetting that there was a key there. So if there's something that's going to bring Ben back into that Hera or that Spec Rock check, it is pretty much either Hera Big Chest or Spike Cave. And might I recommend checking that early part of the video or this race, because if you're used to seeing people bomb jump the inside of Spectacle Rock, Benteezy did a little bit of a different spin on it. But akuheish getting down another crystal. So that's 6 crystals now for akuheish, as well as one of the pendants. Going to head into Turtle Rock first. Whereas Benteezy is at 5 crystals and a pendant. Oh, sorry, 6 crystals and a pendant versus 7 crystals and a pendant. So we're just missing the Desert Palace Big Key at this moment. There's definitely still some outs here for Benteezy. I wouldn't say that this race is anywhere close to over. It's just a question of when does Benteezy get back to Hera area to check Spec Rock. And, where is that Desert Big? And yes, as DT is saying in chat, if this is a vanilla Desert Big on the right side, that could be a huge advantage for Benteezy right now. As soon as Benteezy finds the Meyer Big Key, even if he doesn't find that Big Key quickly, the fact that he has Desert Small and a couple of Meyer Smalls might send him that way after the TR clear. Because that's still at least 6 items plus the 2 in Desert that he has access to right now. So if you have rooting interests here, people are of course participating in the Pick'em League for League. If you're looking to see But We're Still Buddies take this game, that's kind of what you're looking for. If you are on the other side with rooting for the Zebes Frog Bar, then you're definitely hoping for a big key to desert here in Turtle Rock. And I really don't know who's got it first on this one. This is going to be a really interesting end. But Benteezy going for the full clear at this point. We did have all 4 small keys to TR, so great timing for this. You know, no reason to skip anything. Here we go with Mimic Cave now. Oh, and a tough death to the Chomps there in the Chomp Room. One of definitely the most dangerous enemies in Link to the Past. And there's Red Mail. We also get a small key to Pod, so that is our 4th one. Definitely still some possibilities for what could have been in those last couple of checks out of the Palace of Darkness. I can't imagine still that Benteezy's going to want to go check them. All he had left was Vanilla Big Key Chest and the Harmless Hellway. Akuheish, on the other hand, does have a little bit more just based on how he routed that dungeon, but still, I can't see either runner going there anytime soon. But here we go with Laser Bridge. 10 bombs. 20 bucks. A small key to Misery Mire. That is all 3 of our small keys for Mire. Fortunately, Benteezy getting bullied off there. Looks like took a laser shot. And just a piece of heart. So still no Desert Big Key. This really is kind of possibly working out for Benteezy, but without that Mire Big Key, I can't say for certain right now. Benteezy really needs to head back to Spectacle Rock for that big key on top of our Spec Rock, whereas akuheish is in GT mode. There's definitely a high likelihood of our Desert Big being there. Really just a question, of the other outliers. We've still got, we've got a couple of checks in Palace of Darkness, not yet in Logic. We have Right Side of Desert now available to Benteezy. So only a little bit left that we haven't seen for this Desert Key location. But Benteezy taking down a Trinex here. And what do we get? Just a map this time to Skullwoods. So nice find on getting our pendant. Our green pendant obviously being desert, so it's not Saha. We know it's not pedestal. So those checks are off the table at this point. akuheish getting that red mail as well now. Benteezy looking like they're heading over to possibly Spike Cave. I'm hoping to see a mirror here. We've got a mirror out, folks. Oh, this is Hera. Okay, this is Hera Big. Still hoping Benteezy does remember about the that Spec Rock and maybe even Spike Cave after this. If there's a chance, this is the big moment for it. Meanwhile, akuheish going through the dark maze of Turtle Rock. Nice little hookshot strats to get through without taking any damage. Okay, Benteezy clearing out Hera. Walking back out, so we've got a chance here. Unfortunately, Benteezy just not heading over to the left to scout that big key. again. We know he saw it earlier today. Just this is definitely one of those moments where you forget that it's there and then just don't go back to it. Really unfortunate. Yeah, and I don't know what brings Benteezy back to that location. And that is just a map to Hyrule Castle. So we're getting that save and quit now from Benteezy. It's a quick check to get that big key. It's just a question of when. I think the one thing we can say is, if Benteezy finds Desert Big Key, see, I can't even say it, is I think, yep, here we go. Benteezy's heading to Meyer area, probably going to get a, checking right side of Desert. Maybe we get checkerboard. But even if Benteezy gets the Desert Big Key, he's probably going to still full clear the other checks out of Meyer, and that's still a massive time investment. Yeah, Fad Keys is a very difficult mode. Sometimes this is the hardest part of this mode is, sometimes you just miss one thing or forget one thing that you saw earlier, and it kind of can throw you off for a long time. And, Benteezy's been playing a great game so far. His execution's really been on point, but that miss is really going to start making a difference as it comes down to where is Desert Big. But Benteezy does get silver arrows. It's a nice little find, but this is still, like, I just don't know. Another pod small key. Like, those silver arrows do save time between Ganon and Vidrius. There are a couple ways to save some time here with those for Benteezy, but that's still a big issue of timing. But, our missed item in Checkerboard Cave was the half magic. And yeah, we're now up to 5 pod smalls for Benteezy. Heading out. I wonder where to. Back to Meyer. Okay. Yeah, I just don't know when Benteezy recalls to go back to Spec Rock. Definitely not a location that's gonna be at the top of the list. Meanwhile, akuheish getting through Turtle Rock, heading over to GT. We are gonna get a GT basement clear. And at this point, I think we know that the big key for Desert has to be here. I don't think we have any checks left. Maybe it's powder leading to it off the magic bat. But we really do not have a lot. Yeah, so if to anybody who's kind of just showing in and wondering what brought us to this point, akuheish has a bit of a lead, will not get the silver arrows, but what happened was Benteezy early in the race scouted Death Mountain, was able to get do those checks. After doing them, deciding to solve a big key on top of Spec Rock, but has not returned to pick it up. That is the Meyer big key that Benteezy is currently missing. Both of our runners, however, are still missing the Desert big key. So, can't say this game is over by any stretch, but we're definitely running out of locations, and it looks like it's gonna be here in GT for akuheish. And yeah, that is our last pod small. I think if you're looking for something to kind of keep Benteezy in this race, it is a bad situation for the Desert small key. But I don't know, just because at this point, akuheish has really cleared most of the map. And it is just a few one-offs in the lower part of the world. It's, it is a shovel, it is a powder, it's those kinds of locations, and realistically, one of them is going to be in here. The only other spot that could have something is if, like, one of our locations in pod was the missing piece. And even then, I don't know when we see a runner go back to pod. But I mean, if I had to put any amount to say this person's going to be in go mode soon, it's definitely akuheish right now. Like, just the overwhelming majority of our checks are here in GT. But so far, nothing. And yeah, that's the thing. Like, for akuheish having skipped most of Palace of Darkness, or more checks in Palace of Darkness, I think is the way to put it, really, might be more tempted to make that play. And I know it's not all that important at this point, but it's kind of funny. Early in the race, we had a lot of, oh, there's going to be a ton of health in GT, and we're definitely finding some good amounts of pieces and containers here in Ganon's Tower. And okay, so Benteezy heading right back to Palace of Darkness. There is a chance that this is the location for Desert Big. I just don't know if it's going to be enough. Although, oh, Skull Wood's big key now. So there's another little moment to get. But yeah, where is Desert Big? We're really starting to run out of locations. akuheish taking down Ice Armos, heading now for those 3 checks. As we get a cape off of the vanilla big key chest. And nothing behind Ice Armos, so we've still got right side and tile room. But so far, akuheish has checked every chest and picked up every item available in GT. We still have 9 checks left, though. We've got these 4 on, or the 5 on the right side. I wonder, we are getting tile room. And I had not seen that bunny sprite before. I love that Bomberman bunny sprite. Yeah, and that shovel out of Pod, the Harmless Hellway, interesting find. That is a fetch quest, and at this point, you know, Benteezy is still just unfortunately has forgotten the Spec Rock location and is, you know, at the mercy of having to make these checks. It could be the right answer for Desert Big. It's just really hard to say if this is, nope, just a heart container. So it's, I think it has to be in GT or it's in Skull. Or there's something in GT that leads to it. And this is the situation you don't like to see for a runner. You know, Benteezy's really been playing a great game so far, and unfortunately is just not sure what he might have forgotten. And this is a really tough one. You know, you sit on that flute screen and go, what did I see? What did I do? I think what we're going to get first is Benteezy might check bumper ledge. There's powder. There's a big key too. Desert Palace. Oh, man. So at this point, akuheish finding the big key out of right side compass room of Ganon's Tower. So that's go mode for akuheish at just over an hour 48:40. So all he has to do is climb Ganon's Tower, take down Aga 2, flute back to Desert, and take down Landmo, as well as beat Aga 1. So unfortunately, or fortunately, you know, this looks good for the Zebes Frog Bar team. Entering go mode at this point. I think, unfortunately, just the extra checks that Ben had to make, and for getting that Meyer Bake location have kind of sealed this one. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully he'll remember. As akuheish begins that climb. Having found powder, really nice little bit of extra safety. And yeah, Benteezy going through kind of where is it mode, going back through checks and just hoping to find it. This might be this looks to be Hylia Island. I don't think we had necessarily seen it. Maybe one of our runners passed by it real quick. Yeah, just 10 arrows, so. Benteezy did do Spike Cave after Hera, big chest. So that's the thing, is that at this point, really, that Spectacle Rock is kind of just hanging out there as it just doesn't exist, I think, for Benteezy at this point. There's almost no reason to go back for it. Because for as long as he's had that mirror, it's probably just been oh, I know, I must have done it. Like, I've had mirror and I knew they're all. But we are getting a mountain check. We are on the mountain. This could be that moment. Yep, it looks like he's heading up there now. It's unfortunate. Definitely something that happens to all runners. You have that day where you just forget that something's there. And yep. So Benteezy now into GT mode as well, knowing that there's pretty much at this point, Benteezy's cleared the rest of the world, knows that our Desert Bake has to be there. But yeah, I definitely appreciate Benteezy kind of working through that and just trying to figure out what it was. It can definitely be one of those frustrating things where you're like, I know I must have seen it. I know I must have missed something. What was it? So akuheish still checking some chests, might be looking for silvers, hoping for those as we as always, akuheish having to, after doing Aga 2 here, will still need to do Desert Palace and Aga 1. We'll see what order he tackles them. A lot of common routing usually says you would do Aga 1 here, then take down Landmo to be able to save and quit back to the top of the pyramid. We'll see how he approaches it though. But at this point, there is pretty much no chance akuheish finds those silver arrows. Benteezy now working his way to the back of Misery Meyer. Very well equipped to finish this fight. But down goes Aga 2 for akuheish, so we're going to see those last two dungeons before our Ganon fight. So first up, we got that mirror, and yep, akuheish heading into Aga 1 first. And yes, as it's pointed out, we don't have any Castle Tower small keys. Whatever shall we do? Oh wait, it's fad keys. And if you missed what fad keys is, it means it's a faux AD keys. Why? Because hey, Castle Tower smalls are vanilla. You get to avoid that great ice rod hunt of the small keys and just make your life a little bit better. Meanwhile, Benteezy just burning through Vitreous, a mix of some NMG strats and a couple of silvers to take him down. So now Benteezy into a GT mode situation. He'll be climbing that mountain once again. We'll see what his route is through it. And yes, I do love the jokes, everybody, about the Castle Tower small keys. Will be here all week because this is just day 1 of fad keys for the league. This whole week 2 of league season is all about fad keys. So if you love the non-hunts for Castle Tower small keys, be sure to join us across all Speed Gaming and ALTTPR League, because you're going to see a ton of these races, and you will just love these classic jokes, all devoted to those keys. But akuheish climbing Aga Tower will still have to mirror back to Light World to go to Desert Palace after this, but definitely in great shape. Benteezy heading now to Ganon's Tower. I imagine we're going to see some variation of DM strat. Maybe do Hope into right side, but we'll see how exactly he approaches it. Might make up a little bit of time, but this is still akuheish's race. Wait, why are we skipping Kaz Boots week for week 3, DT? I mean, I can see maybe not wanting to play fad keys all these days, but I thought most people enjoy Kaz Boots. But akuheish into Aga 1, hoping for some generous, not many blue ball. As I say that, of course, we get a blue ball. And yes, I know a lot of runners do really enjoy Spoiler Week, so I can't blame you there. It is a fun mode. Just don't put me in charge of piloting. So Benteezy going at least to DM room here, has the mirror out, so I think this is going to be an old style DM strat. Yep, over to right side next. Gets that small key to Palace of Darkness. That is Benteezy's 6th pod small. Meanwhile, akuheish just working through Aga 1. Unfortunately, it's pretty much just a very long cutscene waiting to get through it. You just don't want to miss any of your extra shots there. But Benteezy about to enter go mode as akuheish heads towards Desert Palace for his final dungeon before going after the big pig. There's that powder, and there's the big key for Benteezy. So that at 158.40 is go mode for Benteezy. And yep, akuheish just portaling or mirroring right next to the desert entrance. Unfortunately, just a slight mirror bonk. And, there's not much to say in terms of what happened on this. Both of our runners doing a great job here for sure. Just, the unfortunate situation of Benteezy forgetting to go back for Spectacle Rock on this one. It happens. Talk to any runner at any level of this game, you know, brand new runners, experienced runners, even tournament champions will tell you it's just one of those things that happens. You feel terrible about it in the moment, and all you can do is kind of work through it and hope the next race goes better. So really rough situation there. But Akuheish heading into Landmolus for his final dungeon. And we're getting concurrent Landmolus fights, just with very different equipment. Benteezy having those silver, and you know that's what you hope for, is just being able to one cycle like that. Akuheish taking that Landmo on his end for the green pendant. So at just over 2 hours, Akuheish has all of his dungeons done and can just go straight to Ganon. Although maybe we're gonna get, yeah, it looks like we're gonna get a quick run over to the potion shop. At this point, I really don't think this will change the outcome on this one. But, you know, definitely nice to have a potion or two just in case. And yes, our desert small key was in the graveyard ledge, and our silvers were on right side of Desert Palace. That is why Akuheish does not have them. Just never went to graveyard ledge, and thus had also never had a need to check it. And here we go. Akuheish dropping into Ganon at 201.45. Meanwhile, Benteezy just has a Moldorm 2 to get through before heading off to Aga 2, and then of course still has Aga 1 and we're now into phase 2 of Ganon. Luckily, with all that armor and all those hearts, you know, eating a little bit of damage here, not too big of a deal. Nicely done. Hook shot. On to phase 3 as Benteezy enters the Aga 2 fight. In that message, did you find those silvers in desert? No, we did not, but we know where they are. Akuheish getting the torch glitch, just has to do these spins. Looks like we are going to get a shift over to fire rod. Oh, that was scary getting hit by that fire bat, but does not get pushed in any direction. It's always a good idea to just not touch a button. And Benteezy going a little bit opposite strats here. Going to do land mode first before the Aga play. And Akuheish is just getting bullied by fire bats here. Just, you know, just getting barely hit on some of these. Starting to get some nice doubles though, starting to build that pattern up. As Benteezy's working through Desert Palace now. And yeah, akuheish could have had that the half magic. Unfortunately, it just had a little bit of a rough moment getting the checkerboard cave, so did miss them, but doesn't matter as akuheish does take down Ganon. Just has, of course, everybody's favorite final boss, not Ganon. It's the 1x3 bridge. So just going to cross that bridge as Benteezy does take down Landmo 1. And here we go. akuheish finishing in first place today with an official time of 2:05 flat. GG's to akuheish and Team Zebes Frogbar, as we are now joined, I believe, by akuheish. GG. 2:05 flat. GG's akuheish and Team Zebes Frogbar, as we are now joined, I believe, by akuheish. GG.
Thank you.
Okay, so thoughts on the seed? akuheish, are you there? I did hear you for a second there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got one too many settings for mic stuff.
akuheish, are you there? No problem. I was gonna say I can hear the I don't know if it's the restream coming through.
One too many settings for mic stuff.
No problem. I was gonna say I can hear the I don't know if it's the restream coming through.
Too many settings. Yes.
But as it looks like we're trying to sort out some technical difficulties there. Meanwhile, Benteezy working through Aggle. Hopefully we do get akuheish back in here. So just making a mad dash through Aga Tower here. I would say Benteezy will probably be done in the next few minutes at this point. Between having silver arrows and everything else, this should be a quick Ganon, and even Aga 1 wasn't too bad on the patterns today. And Benteezy having some extra silver arrows, so why not shoot them at Aga? We all have fun with that. But it appears we are rejoined by akuheish. Hopefully everything's taken care of now. GG's again.
Yeah, but everything's taken care of. Thanks for the GG's.
So yeah, initial thoughts on the seed.
I thought it was going to be slow and behind about halfway through. Then I just went dungeon diving.
And that was the big thing. I mean, honestly, your plays really worked out. You both really made a call when it came to pod. I think that's kind of where the early time difference shows up. Right after you get that bow, both of you made a call to go into pod not too soon after that. You decided to skip some extra checks, only did one dip down the right side, whereas Benteezy made 3 separate trips through right side to clear as much as possible, while also beating Helmasaur King with your 2 small keys.
Yeah, I routed that to take out Helmasaur and pretty much forget about the rest of it.
Fair enough. So, and then of course, finding all those keys and getting put into an earliest GT mode. We did find the desert small key. I didn't get to read all the chat happening between you and Benteezy, of course, but the desert small key for right side silver arrows were in Graveyard Ledge.
Yeah, it's an area I skipped over.
Yeah, and it was completely understandable. I think, when you both made that play to Pyramid Fairy, you knew you were in GT mode at that point, whereas Benteezy, as I'm sure you're well aware, was looking for the Meyer Big. So for him, those extra few checks were, still on the table.
Right, they would be for him.
And of course, the only other really big play, of course, you were able to do ice with the Icebreaker, whereas Benteezy did it earlier without Kana Samaria. So some little stuff throughout for sure, really making a big difference here at the end.
Right. Yeah, I wanted to put it off until I could ice break, rather not bomb jump.
Yeah, and really nicely done today. This is definitely a tough matchup. I got to read some of the pregame chat. Really happy to see Zebes Frog Bar now getting on the board. But real quick, that is the get your GGs in chat as well for Benteezy, finishing up here second place with a 2:10.54. But yeah, really nicely done today. Always feels good to get the win, I'm sure.
Yeah, it does feel good to get the win.
So I guess, I guess the one thing I'm sure was a little rough, of course, being that moth fight early. Unfortunately, the seed was really stingy for you early on health.
Yeah, it was stingy. I figured I could just go back and beat Moth later, which I did.
Yeah, nice return fight too. But I mean, honestly, after that, for the most part, this seed proceeded in a pretty, I don't want to call it linear fashion, but it definitely felt like at each step of the way you could make that almost logical determination where to go next.
Yeah, and I think that was a big thing for routing too, was just going with the logic after the first little bit.
Now, of course, the one play I do want to kind of ask about, and it worked out in that you had boots and also the big key for it later, but Swamp Palace, any thought to going into Swamp right after you got that hook shot off a Bombos tablet?
Go in there, get the dungeon done, and move on.
Oh, sure. I just, it was interesting how both you and Benteezy pull hookshot off of Bombos and decide, no, I'm going to Death Mountain right now.
Oh, oh yeah, just routing, figuring out what to get.
Fair enough. And it worked out. I mean, you find that big key to Swamp Palace a little bit later on the mountain, and then you get the boots out of Thieves Town. So two things that make you feel a lot more comfortable about waiting on Swamp. So I'm not sure if we're going to be joined by Benteezy today.
No, he has other things to do today.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I missed that part of the conversation. So unfortunately, we won't get a chance to talk with him as well today. So I guess the question is, who else? What's the matchup number 2 for this week? Or is that on the schedule yet already?
I don't think it's on the schedule yet.
Okay.
but for us, it should be Chelsea Lynn against Ursula.
Okay. So, we'll see when that gets to be on the schedule, and we'll see if we can get a restream for that, of course. But, any other final kind of thoughts on this one for today?
Just interesting, and I hope you like that full clear of GT.
That was great, I must say. It's tough when you route GT, but love seeing all the checks. So nice getting Powder and that Desert Big right next to each other.
Yeah, and that was the only thing I was looking for, was that Desert Big.
Yeah. But no, really nice. The name of the game when it comes to Fad Keys, as always, efficient full clear. But anything else, I guess, for you today, akuheish?
No, that's it. Thank you for all of the help with the restream, trackers, commentators, the whole back end. Thank you to the audience for watching too.
Yeah, so just so everybody knows, do make sure to give our runners a follow today. akuheish and Benteezy really did put on a great show. Really good race, close. As different as that time might seem, this mode can really have some high variance. So great race. Shout outs, of course, to my tracker today, Oro, really keeping me on pace and making sure I know what's going on. And of course, our restreamer today doing all that work behind the scenes, Amerith. Much appreciated. And thank you all for watching today. Do make sure to follow the league channels. We will have plenty of racing this week as part of not just the league, but of course, we are in the middle of Fad Keys, as well as speed gaming, where we will also see plenty of matches this week in this mode. I can say there's a lot on the schedule, and you've got probably another 3+ months of league races left at this point. But with that, we are going to call it a day here on the ALTTPR League. I have been Radical Sniper 99 handling your comms today, and I appreciate all of you being here. Until the next race, have a great rest of your day.